Make it 3 in a row as the Canucks knock off Nashville 3-1. Let's go streaking. This is Rink-Wide Vancouver. Vancouver Canucks reached the 50-game mark of their National Hockey League regular season with a 3-1 win over the Nashville Predators at Bridgestone Arena. This is Rink-Wide Vancouver, and I said let's go streaking, but I promise no skin here. On the program, it's Jeff and it's Irf with you. And, hey, credit where it's due. It wasn't pretty, as much of this season has not been terribly aesthetically pleasing for the Vancouver Canucks, but it was effective and a big night for Thatcher Demko and a big night for Linus Karlsson as well. And that gives us lots of talking points. Rink-Wide, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you open an account. Get the chat going on the YouTube live stream. And if you want to get your questions or your comments through to us here, hit us up with a super chat. Our partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation. We've had lots of super chats throughout the year, so keep those coming. We appreciate them. BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. And how about that, Irf? 3 straight wins, and the Vancouver Canucks back above the playoff bar in the Western Conference.
You said it. 3 straight wins for the Vancouver Canucks.
Been a while.
First time since the first week of November.
Yeah.
That is a long time for this Vancouver Canuck team to not be able to string along 3 straight wins. Just tells you about the kind of season that they had, but amazing performance by Thatcher Demko. Exactly what the doctor ordered for him. The all-Swede line was cooking in this one. They played well in this hockey game and being able to close it out. A power play goal. We'll talk about that, but a power play goal. It goes down as one. But all in all, a good way to get some good juju after the last 24 hours in Canuckland.
Yeah, and look, I think that there absolutely would have been questions about the goaltending decision. Had the Canucks come out on the wrong end of this score, and that's what we do in this business, is analyze and second guess. Rick Tocchet turns to Thatcher Demko. He had the 4 straight starts. It didn't happen for him. They go back to Kevin Lankinen. He had delivered the first 2 victories on this 3-game win streak, but Thatcher Demko got the call, and that looked a lot like last season's Thatcher Demko. Canucks kind of hung him out to dry in the second and third period. They got their 2-1 lead and then kind of shut it down until the empty netter, and that's why I said it wasn't terribly pretty, but hey, it is another win, their 23rd victory of the season. 23, 17, and 10 are your Vancouver Canucks, up to 56 points, and that road record it took a hit there for a little while, but they start this 3-game road trip with wins in St. Louis and Nashville, on to Dallas on Friday, 14-7 and 4 away from Rogers Arena. We'll do our 3 stars a little bit later on, but Thatcher Demko, he needed that performance. The team needed that effort from him. It didn't have to be spectacular, but at the end of the night, the shots are 32-22 in favor of the Preds, and certainly over the final 2 periods, they were 19-9. That is a season high for him, Irf. 31 saves on the night.
Yeah, and look calm. Look kind of like old Thatcher Demko. Had to make some big saves. Got bailed out from the crossbar and the post, but when the goalie's feeling that good, sometimes the post and the crossbar are your friends. So the Canucks will take it. I didn't see any problem with his game. I didn't like the penalty late in the game on Forsberg kind of falling on Demko there. And a little scary, especially with what we know. But look, like you mentioned, Thatcher Demko needed a game like this. He got a game like this, and he was able to go out and put a performance together that, now poses the question, like, what do you do? But it's a good problem to have right now when you have goalies going, and if this is going to propel them to anything, it's always good to see Thatcher Demko playing at a high level.
Super chat coming in from Nick Postcheck, who says, based on that result, get Rutherford a radio show so we can talk trash about this team every day. Well, of course, this wasn't on the radio. This was in print, and credit to Gary Mason for getting the quotes that he did from the president of hockey operations. I see he's backed it up. He had so much on his recording device that he emptied the chamber. He had some stuff on Nikita Zadorov and his departure from the Vancouver Canucks. But, of course, the talk of the town for the last 24 hours was the explosive article with all of the quotes from Jim Rutherford. Look, there were some signs of life from Elias Pettersson. We keep waiting for something, anything to get him going. And as you said, the all-Swede line certainly will devote some time to talk about Linus Karlsson getting his first National Hockey League goal. Pretty cool moment for him. Turns out to be the game winner as well. One of the things that the Canucks have done really well here on this streak, and it's a modest streak, but when you haven't had many of them, the season high, by the way, is 4. They did rattle off 4 straight victories early on when they went out on an Eastern road trip and knocked off 4 in a row. So we'll see if they can match that in Dallas on Friday. But Irf, they haven't trailed in any of these games. So Washington on Saturday, they had the 2-0 lead. We're able to see that one through. The other night in St. Louis, got the early start, built on that, and again got the victory there. And here, first period off the rush, Nils Höglander hasn't scored often this year, but has scored twice in the last couple of weeks. He's only got 4 on the season, as we showed on the live stream. There was a lot to like in that rush. Just good puck movement, guys finding open ice, Linus Karlsson going to the front of the net, becoming a bit of a screen machine. And I love the way Höglander steps around. That's Roman Josi, that he dekes down to the ice and then snaps it home. So Pettersson gets the second assist, Quinn Hughes the primary, and Nils Höglander with his 4th of the year, opening the scoring on the road. Look, it's a different game when you're not chasing your opponent, you're not chasing the scoreboard, and so 3 straight games where they've never trailed adds up to a 3-game win streak.
Well, and everything about that play, Jeff, just felt like the Canucks were taking it to them. Like, they were very forceful on that. Like, you go back and look at it, Quinn Hughes right at the blue line skates through 2 guys just to get open and fly down the wing there, and then you see them getting the puck here. Pettersson moving it forward, Hughes snap pass there, and obviously Nils Höglander top shelf. Like, everything about that play, like, it was forceful, it was with impact, and it was with purpose, and we haven't seen that from this team in a while.
Dare I say that was Nils Höglander getting to the interior of the ice. The Rick Tockett's been urging his guys, and look, for a guy that had 3 goals coming in, like, that looked like a pretty confident move to step around Roman Josi and get him down to the ice and then find the back of the net. Now, I talked about they didn't trail. They didn't lead for long. The lead lasted all of 90 seconds. And again, there are moments in these games. We talked about some turning points the other night in St. Louis where you thought, this might get away from the Vancouver Canucks. Not that I felt this was going to get away from them, but they didn't get to enjoy their lead for long. And there was Tommy Novak back skating the puck into the net. But, having seen the replay a few times now, like, I don't think the Canucks were going to challenge. I don't think there was enough in it to challenge the 2-on-1. Susie gets caught up ice, and it's Noah Juleson back in the lineup. He's the lone man back. Zach LaRue with the shot, and there was Novak. Suter doesn't do a great job of tying him up off the skate, clearly, but not kicked in. So
I don't think that you can challenge a kick, though. I think they said it on the broadcast that you can't challenge a kicking motion, which is still bizarre because it's a goal.
Yeah, I mean, that one, it just kind of hits his skate,
him, yeah.
So not too worked up about it. But again, to the Canucks' credit, that's it. That's the only goal they gave up. And if you hold your opponent to 1, I like your chances. Looked like they might see this thing through as another 2-1 victory like it was on Saturday, but Pia Suter with the power play goal that you mentioned from 150 feet away. Pia Suter, who had gone forever without scoring, now has goals in back-to-back games. He had the short-handed goal the other night, and here seals the deal. Made no doubt that the Canucks were going to skate out of Bridgestone Arena with a victory, like they did in all 3 of their visits there in the play. They own that barn now. Didn't get swept by the Preds. which would not have been a good look on them. They had lost twice to Nashville already this season. And one of the reasons, we talked about Thatcher Demko, we can roll into the 3 stars now. In fact, let's get the 3 stars up. We kind of joked that this was a night that maybe we only had 2 stars, but Quinn Hughes by default, you just leave him. We just leave him in the graphic package there. We move him around a little bit. It's kind of like the shell game, but you know that Quinn's going to show up. And so sure enough, but yes, Thatcher Demko, 31 saves. He's the first star. Linus Karlsson gets the game winner. Had a nice shift in fact, he was on the ice with 3 minutes to go in a 2-1 hockey game and nearly added to his career goal total. That was just a good shift. The fact that Karlsson and Höglander, what world are we living in where Rick Tocchet's got these guys out late in the hockey game preserving a lead? But that was the case, and as we said, he went to the front of the net on the Höglander goal. He doesn't figure in the scoring there, but we'll talk about his goal in a moment. But there he is, first National Hockey League goal for Linus Karlsson, and it is, in fact, the game winner, and Quinn Hughes is the third star. He has the 2 assists, so in on 2 of the 3 Canuck goals, unless... Did they add an assist? No, it's Suter's unassisted goal. 3 stars in the building, and this is what I love.
I'm literally just going to
I love this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't get worked up about it in the least. UC Saros is the first star selected by the Nashville media. Incredible. And look, he gave up 2. He was fine, but the Canucks had 9 shots over the final 2 periods.
Yeah.
And Gus Nyquist is the third star. So 2 stars. Thatcher Demko doesn't figure in the 3-star selection. Oh, my goodness. Good thing that Rinkwide's around.
The Nashville media is still mad about the playoffs.
I don't know. Like that, again, I'm not going to work. I say I'm not going to get worked up about it. I'm not. Like, I find it hilarious is what I do. But
it's a joke.
Wow. Okay.
It's unbelievable. Like, obviously Quinn Hughes because you have to put him there, but Nyquist as well, and UC Saros, and no love for Thatcher Demko. Yeah, it's bizarre. Sometimes we look at this and see what different buildings and different media groups decide the stars in the building in away games, but it's unbelievable. It's actually quite fascinating. Jeff's speechless. Chat knows. The chat's going wild here, but this is one of those where we look at it, you actually are baffled and left speechless by it.
I am. I've been thrown for a loop. I'm rattled. I am. I'm going to admit it. I'm rattled.
Nothing shakes Jeff Patterson
game
except
50, and I am rattled now. I feel like I need to go for a walk, but I wouldn't do that to you. We'll stick with it and push through. 3 stars are brought to you by Greta Bar. We talk about it on every rink wide. I do hope you had a chance to get down there, and if you haven't, put it on the list. All the big screens. Great place to watch any sporting event. There's a big football game coming down the pipe here in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, the Canucks still have a bunch of games to go before the Four Nations break, and we'll talk more about Greta and the Four Nations a little later on. But big screens, arcade games, the new street food menu, weekly drink specials. It's all there. Check it out. Greta Bar, place to be. 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. And what a game for Gustav Nyquist. Let's spend more... Nyquist.
It's unbelievable.
Did he, honestly,
what did he do? I'm looking at it right now.
What did he do?
Let's see.
Let's dig into this.
Nyquist had...
He had a shot on goal.
Yeah, 1908 ice time, a shot on goal, and an attempt blocked.
He had a shot on goal. That's his stat line.
Yep, he had a shot on goal. He was the game's third star.
That is insane. Well done, Nashville media. Congratulations. You have completely screwed the idea of the 3 stars. You've broken the process now.
Yeah.
Wow. Karlsson, let's get to it. I tweeted it out. Like, it'll never not be cool when a guy scores his first NHL goal. They all work so hard to get to the National Hockey League. Not everybody's path is a straight line. Some guys take longer. Some probably wonder if that first one's ever going to happen. And Linus Karlsson posting up, backdoor. Of course, Tyler Myers finds him there. Great pass by Myers.
If that was a pass, that was a ridiculous pass.
But
yeah,
Karlsson's not a small man and was able to sort of stealthily work his way to the back post and made no mistake there. End of a long shift for the Nashville defenders. Canucks were applying some pressure there, and ultimately it results in a goal a minute and 28 seconds into the second period. So 1-1 after one, but a decent road period for the Vancouver Canucks. They had the lead. They did a bunch of decent things. 13 shots on goal. You like that. And it looked like, all right, keep that up. And I like their chances. But boy, after the 2-1 goal, they went into park the bus mode, which it's a dangerous way to play against better teams. And we've seen it already this year a number of times where it's come back to bite the Canucks in the butt, but it didn't in this one. Big smile on the part of Linus Karlsson and Irf. Why didn't anybody pick up the puck for the young man?
Yeah. You saw the replay. No one really got it. I'm assuming they got it after. They had to have got it after, but maybe they didn't know. Maybe they thought that, this guy might have scored. It was his first point in the NHL as well. But yeah, just going back and watching the replay, no one went and got the puck, but what a cool moment for him. And I think we both kind of saw this coming just from his play. Like, he's not afraid to go to the areas. You mentioned screen machine. He's not afraid to go to those areas. And when you do, chances are you're going to find some success. And you know what? It took him only 10 games now in the National Hockey League, but he's finally got his first goal.
Yeah, and we heard Spencer Carberry, the Caps head coach, on Saturday, giving him credit for standing his ground on that first Quinn Hughes goal. He was the guy that planted himself in front of the net. Like, Rick Tocchet will love that. All this talk about getting to the interior, it's not always with the puck. It's you can be the body in front of the net that's causing problems for defenders and the opposing goaltender. I mean, there have been a lot of nights where I wondered if he's a true National Hockey Leaguer. But he has, in these 3-game win streak, like, there's been some confidence. You can see that. And again, rewarded with a goal. I just think a really cool moment. And I had to go and look quickly because we've talked about in the past, like when DPD got into the lineup the other night, he became the 12th guy to play for both Abbotsford and Vancouver this season, which is pretty remarkable before the 50-game mark that they've used 12 guys from Abbotsford to play in both the AHL and the NHL. 6th guy to score for both the Abby and the Vancouver Canucks. So, on a night where Max Sasson gets sent back to Abbotsford, Karlsson stays, DPD stayed. He didn't play in this hockey game. But they had some decisions. Aatu Räty was up as well, which was a curious decision, too. And I wonder if there was more to that, bringing in a center with all the smoke in and around the Vancouver Canucks. But Räty didn't play. But Räty is one of the guys. Räty, Lekkerimäki, Karlsson now, Arshdeep Bains, Eric Brandstrom, who has scored for the Abbotsford Canucks down in Coachella Valley tonight. And Max Sasson is the other. So there's your 6. And again, I getting some contributions from a little lower in the lineup. The other part in all this is you think of all those close games the Canucks played out of the Christmas break, going to overtime all the time, and what a goal here or there might have meant, and from anybody. But Höglander had 2 goals at Christmas. He's got 2 here in January. I'd sort of forgot. Maybe I'd tried to flush it out of my mind a little bit about just how dry so many Canuck forwards have been here in the month of January. I mean, there was that stretch not that long ago where 6 of 10 goals had been scored by defensemen. Hughes had 5 of them. Hronek had the other. So, I don't know if it's signs of life for Nils Höglander that he's scored more in January than any other month, but step in the right direction, I suppose. And we have to mention this. And I want to make sure that I frame this properly because I don't want this to sound like I'm dumping on Elias Pettersson. But he has picked up assists in consecutive games for the first time since December 3rd and December 6th. Like, this is a guy that made this game look so easy earlier in his career. And if you need any sort of statistic that tells you just what a struggle it's been on any sort of regular basis to generate offense, there have been a few goals in there. But he got an assist on the Garland power play goal in St. Louis, gets the second assist here on the Höglander goal. I guess anything, whether it's Jim Rutherford's comments, whether it's the fear of a trade, whether it's a little bit of confidence, it's the idea that the Four Nations is around the corner and maybe that's going to jumpstart him. I don't know, but it's just remarkable to me, Irf, that it's been 6 weeks between consecutive games with an assist. Like, we're not talking multi-points. We're not talking about, game-winning goals, whatever. Assists. Yeah. You play every power play. You're out there with Quinn Hughes. Just get Quinn the puck, and you're going to get a second assist somewhere along the line. So I pointed out, and again, not to make light of the fact, but I suppose for his sake and the hockey club's sake, like baby steps here, and maybe this is the start of something a little bit bigger for Elias Pettersson.
I think he's played with purpose.
Yeah.
Here in this game, and I mentioned that first goal. He was helping drive play there, so obviously a positive to build from. But yeah, it was a really really long time, and I think that being able to have a couple line mates for a couple games now where they're starting to generate chances and generate some offense. Linus Karlsson gets his first in the NHL. Obviously, is something to build on here as they head into Dallas. But I thought he played well. I thought that he put himself in positions to succeed. I didn't see him slowing on any of those back checks. He wasn't really, looking defeated in games that we have seen him look in the past. He was engaged. Only one shot on net, but you noticed him. So that was also a good thing because last game it was 7 shots on net and you didn't really see.
Right.
So this one, he's purposeful, and he's rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, part of the story in St. Louis the other night was a season-high 7 shots on goal, but a season-low 14 minutes and 24 seconds of ice time and only one shift over the final 7 minutes when they had the lead, the net was empty. This is a little more like his usual ice time, 18 minutes and 42 seconds, just the one shot. And tough night in the face-off circle. That didn't even really begin to describe. He won 1 of 9 draws, so not a good night on face-offs, but ultimately that doesn't matter. He picks up a point. He's in on the scoring. The Canucks win their 3rd in a row. And yeah, I'm with you. There was purpose to his game, and also the fact that Rick Tocchet building a little bit of trust with him and his line mates to be out there late in a hockey game the way that they were. We should talk about a couple of things because the Canucks did well to jump out to the 1-0 lead. Mm-hmm. And Danton Heinen had that glorious opportunity to make it 2-0, and then on the same sequence, the Preds go back the other way and they tie it up. And so
that's why Saros was the first star, because that's
his
save alone.
Save of the night. That's enough.
The save of the night was enough for the national media.
You're right. As I as I go through my notes, there really weren't a whole lot of saves there for UC Saros. But,
yeah,
that was one, and that could have been a turning point as well. It didn't happen that way. Heinen obviously has been underwhelming when it comes to offensive production this season. Didn't happen for him. He made a nice pass to Tyler Myers off the rush a little bit later in that first period, so there were some moments here. But at the end of the night, really it's on the back of Thatcher Demko. And, Demko's got to be your last line of defense. He was. One of the reasons the Vancouver Canucks win this hockey game is that Quinn Hughes has a couple of points. Pettersson's in on the scoring. The Canucks did a nice job of holding the Predators' top guns at bay. Tommy Novak's their only goal scorer. You mentioned a couple of posts. Those came off defensemen off the rush. First was Adam Wilsby early in the 3rd period, and then Justin Barron at the post with about 4.5 minutes to go. But Philip Forsberg, about as hot as anybody in the National Hockey League in the month of January, came into this thing on a 10-game point streak, 19 points in his last 10. Didn't notice him a ton. Took the late penalty. Stammer, you always got to be wary of Steven Stamkos in a one-shot game.
He had a couple chances too,
but not a big night. 2 shots on goal ultimately for Steven Stamkos. Marchessault got off to a slow start, but he's been better certainly in the second half of the season to this point. But really didn't notice Marchessault. He had the one chance late in the second period. I didn't notice him. That was one of Demko's better saves, I thought, and. Yeah, I mean, give the Canucks credit. I know people weren't enamored with the lineup changes, and people wanted to see DPD stay in there for a 3rd straight game. Here's the thing, though: if you have NHL regulars, and I include Noah Jules, and he's become a National Hockey League regular, you can't just stash them on IR.
Yeah.
And if they're skating with the team like he and Dakota Joshua have been the last bunch of days, you might be able to milk it for a game, but the player themselves, their agents, the Players Association, you can't hide guys on IR. They're hockey players. They want to play. And so the Canucks activated both of them. Juleson gets into the lineup. DPD comes out. We'll see how long DPD stays up. We've talked about the fact that he's got a ticket to the AHL All-Star Weekend. Do they send him down at some point here? We shall see. But on this night, he was a healthy scratch. Dakota Joshua got back in the lineup.
Yeah, he did.
Part of a win. I mean, I guess pretty low expectations coming off an 11-game absence, but also just to this point in the season. He hasn't launched yet, but I'm sure it feels good, A, to be back and be part of a victory. Went down in the home game against Nashville back on the 3rd of January. He's been out, as I said, for 11 games, but not much of an impact here. Took a penalty, 11 minutes and 29 seconds of ice time, so one of the lower ice time guys for the Vancouver Canucks. No shots, no shot attempts, and did have a couple of hits. So I don't know where I am. I mean, there's 32 games to go. I suppose there's still enough runway here for him to get back up and sort of find his game again, because we haven't, for various reasons and understandable reasons, but
Yeah.
2 lengthy absences, and we just haven't seen any sort of impact from Dakota Joshua.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously with what he had to deal with before the season started, and then the injuries and all of that, and just not being able to find his footing, right? And game speed, getting back up to game speed after coming in, getting hurt again, having to deal with all of that and everything that's gone on. So you hope that, he can stay healthy. I think that's the number one thing. And then B, maybe find some chemistry on a line, starts contributing a little bit. But I don't for a second think that we're going to see the Dakota Joshua that we saw last season. You hope that you see glimpses of it, but on a consistent pace, from what we've seen, like you just mentioned, the expectation is pretty low for him right now, and just being in the lineup and being able to stay healthy is an important thing for him. One player away from a full healthy lineup, Jeff. We're one player away from a fully healthy lineup.
Yeah, and that one player is Kiefer Sherwood, who was put on IR today. And I saw some people say, no, Kiefer Sherwood on IR. I think this is paperwork more than anything. Now, I don't know this because team's on the road. He's not out on the road. Rick Tocchet had said before the trip that maybe he joins them. Well, they're 2 games into a 3-game road trip, and he hasn't played yet. Does he get to Dallas? He hasn't skated with the group. It's possible, but here's why I think it's paperwork, is they needed a roster spot. Mm-hmm. And you can put him on IR retroactive to the time of the injury, which was last Thursday in Edmonton. So he's already eligible to come off IR tomorrow. So I'm not going to get too worked up about the fact that they put him on IR. They had 2 guys that they had to activate. They moved Max Sasson back to Abbotsford. So there were a lot of moving parts here. I think this is one of those ones that they could do it because he wasn't on the road trip. And they knew that, in the short term, you can just kind of store him on IR. But if he's healthy and ready to go, same thing. Like, you're not going to leave him there for long. So we shall see. And look, they could easily send Aatu Räty back down. Like, I don't know the reason. I'm not out on the road. People weren't there to ask Rick Tocchet. But it was interesting on the same day that the centers were back at the center of attention, that Aatu Räty got promoted from Abbotsford. Now he's had a nice little run here in the month of January.
Yeah.
I mean, this is on merit, but did they have him on standby just in case they needed somebody to play center ice?
Probably. They probably did. I mean, if the last weekend was any indication of anything, and as we've seen how things have picked up with talk surrounding this team, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin probably wanted a little bit of insurance there, just in case anything came to fruition that they were working on. But obviously it didn't. Aatu Räty still up there getting an NHL paycheck. Philip Roenick did travel and meet the team in Winnipeg, remember? After he got hurt at the very end of the road trip. Did Tocchet say that he wasn't going to travel, or he expected him to meet? I can't remember if he said he expected him to join the
Sherwood?
Yeah.
I think it was more he might.
Oh, he might. Okay.
Kind of left it at that.
Yeah.
But, if he doesn't, I would think that he would. Again, I don't even know the nature of the injury, but I did see him in the hallway around Rogers Arena last weekend. I don't think it's a serious injury, but enough to keep him out of the lineup now for 3 games.
In any case, yeah.
I'm sure they want him back. I know he wants to get back in there, and hey, winning's fun, and he's not able to be a part of it, and so I'm sure he wants to get back in there. I'm glad you brought up Hronek, because I do want to talk about him in a sec, but got some people in the chat here. Cambiz is saying, J-Pat, get that mullet going. Heater incoming. Now, Cambiz, I'm going to disappoint you here, because Four Nations face-off coming up. I'm sneaking away for a week, chasing a little sunshine. I won't be the only one. Wouldn't be surprised if there's some hockey players on my flight. But I'm getting it cut here. It's getting a little shaggy. So there's no mullet growing. I can't even remember where that came from, but I certainly didn't agree to any sort of bet on a mullet. Let me tell you that, make that abundantly clear. But yes, we'll be, look, it's getting a little unruly. You can see that. L. Smith 2.0 says, I love the Swedish line. What should we name the line? No, see, I don't want to go here. I'm not a guy that names lines. I don't need a line. They've been together for 2 games. They don't need a line. I see all sorts of people going with
There's a lot of names.
the IKEA line. Like, come on. It's got to be.
Got to be better than that.
Yeah, so.
Meatball Mafia. I like that one, Jono.
Again, lines certainly under Rick Tocchet don't stay together terribly long. So, yeah. Anyways, you go and have fun with your line combinations, rink-wide viewers and listeners, but you're not getting me to play that game. All I know is that the line was good tonight, and hopefully it earns them a little bit of a longer leash. And when we talked about a guy like Kiefer Sherwood coming back and having somebody has to go, I would think that Linus Karlsson, the way that he's playing, is buying himself more time here in the National Hockey League. We got to get to the stat that stands out. I mentioned it in passing, but let's put it up on the screen there, and that is that Elias Pettersson with assists in consecutive games for the first time since December 3rd and December 6th, and we shall see if he's able to make that. Now, also interesting to note the timing there. That was part of that run, his 10-game run where he was being productive, and there were reasons. So, anyways, we'll see if he can carry on in Dallas on Friday, and we'll see if the hockey club can carry on Friday. I was worried for a moment, Irv, early third period. Philip Hronek looked shaken up on the end boards and talking about guys carrying on to Dallas. Fortunately, when you saw the replay, it wasn't a shoulder. It really looked like Cole Smith got cross-checked sort of into his rib cage, and I'm sure it hurt. But up against the glass, it looked fairly similar to what happened to him late in the game in Pittsburgh, where he left and we didn't see him for 7 weeks. So I have to admit, when I saw that, he looked like he was in some distress. That was a crazy shift out there because was that Forbert got the high stick
in the face right after.
Both defensemen are reeling in a 1-goal game, but the Canucks were able to get out of that and obviously go on to victory. So no damage done. I think it was a tough night because Carson Soucy got raked across the face as well in the second period. Yeah. He left the hockey game. I saw some people worked up, and I understand it. Like you saw what happened to Höglander the other night in St. Louis. After the fact, the officials huddled. They made what was the right call on Höglander. He got a stick up on Robert Thomas, but there was no call there. Connor Garland late in the second period was appealing for a call. It looked like somewhere through that bushy beard of his, he took one on the chops as well. At the end of the night, with the light power play, the Canucks, both teams had 3 power play opportunities. Canucks officially 1 for 3 with the empty net power play goal. And credit to Canuck penalty killers, Demko the best of the bunch. But the Canucks killed off all 3 of Nashville's power plays in this hockey game and held the Predators to just 4 shots on goal. And when you have a weapon like Stamkos, you got Roman Josi out there running the power play, Forsberg dealing the way he is, you'll take that. That's pretty good penalty killing on the part of the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah,
penalty killing was good, and I thought even though, they scored on the empty net on the power play, but I thought that first power play, Jeff, it looked good.
Yes.
Like they were moving. There were, like I mentioned this game, purposeful. Like they played with purpose tonight. They were moving, they were interchanging. There was lots of things that were going on. They were confusing the Nashville Predators there a little bit, and they definitely had some chances. So if that's any indication of things to come, tweaking the power play a little bit might be something that we need to keep an eye on here as well.
What about the way they went about defending the lead, though? Like, I don't want to say I'm concerned, but it felt like too many nights this year where
that's their MO, though. Like, it hasn't changed. Like, they haven't wavered from it at all.
I know, but the Predators are the 29th place team in the National Hockey League. Yep. It worked against Washington on the weekend. It was nice to see them. Goal scoring's fun. It was nice to see them get 5 the other night in St. Louis. This sort of reverts back to, as you said, the blueprint that Rick Tocchet. And again, you give up 1, you got your goaltender playing the way that he did. Like, I don't have huge issues with that, but I do think you're playing with a little bit of fire at the very least to have just 9 shots on goal over the final 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to like that, especially with a team that, like you mentioned, the Nashville Predators 29th in the NHL, and they're offensive guys. Like, they do have weapons, but against the big boys, it could be a little bit different for the Vancouver Canucks. It's one of those games where your goaltender says, okay, get me 2 and I can win this hockey game, right? And the way that Demko was playing and the way that sometimes Kevin Lankinen plays, and when they have those 2 goalies playing the way that they are at such a high level, you only need 2 or 3 goals to win a hockey game, right? Because they're not going to let in any. But you hope that there'd be a little bit more attack in their game when, the foot's on the throat, go for the kill. They don't usually do that. That's just not the way that they've played. That's not their style. It's kind of get the lead, take the lead, and then just defend the lead, right? There's no adding to the lead when it's the Vancouver Canucks, except if it's a late power play goal into an empty net.
Important for Thatcher Demko.
Yep.
I mean, the numbers are what the numbers are. It's been disappointing for him in his return. He had just one win in his last 7 starts prior to this. So the fact that they turned to him, high leverage in the third period with a 1-goal lead, and we talked about some of the saves that he made. One of the best saves that he made was off third-star guest Nyquist. When Nyquist out-battled Miller on the penalty kill and basically turned it into a breakaway, Demko, that was a big save there. Interesting, too, that the Canucks' second unit came out for 20 seconds or so, and then they got a stoppage. Rick Tocchet got his first unit back out there, and guess who was missing from the first unit the second time around on that power play? And it was JT Miller. And I think the coach recognized that you got to, I know it's power play and you're thinking offense, but you got to defend as well. And
you can't turn over the puck at the blue line. You just can't. You can't do that if you're JT Miller, and he knows better than that. And that's why he went and sat on the corner of the bench.
He sat there an awful lot this season.
Yeah.
And then the Canucks take the too many men on the ice penalty with 8.5 minutes to go in a 2-1 hockey game, and it was too many men on the ice. I don't know what Dakota Joshua was thinking because they basically the line changed, but Höglander, the left winger out there, he's on the far side. He wasn't coming off the ice, and Joshua jumped, and they had 6 guys out there without a doubt. So that won't make the coach happy, but I'm sure the penalty kill that we talked about, he would like that. Zach Leroux had the one chance late, right at the tail end of the power play again, one of Thatcher Demko's better stops of the night. So, again, this thing kind of tracked back to a goaltending performance. I'm sure Kevin Lankinen would love to have played against the Predators, former team, back in Nashville. This is the Canucks' only visit there. That's why it's probably disappointing for Kiefer Sherwood to miss the hockey game. But Lankinen had seen the Predators twice this year, hadn't been able to deliver a victory. They got shut out the last time. That's not on him. He gave up 1 goal, and they scored 2 empty netters to make it 3-0. But you throw a different look. Predators didn't have to face Thatcher Demko outside of the first game of the playoffs last year, so I'm sure Thatcher Demko was itching to get in on the fun at Bridgestone Arena. He was there in the playoffs as a cheerleader helping the hockey club, but couldn't suit up. So, I don't know what it is about Music City. It's fun. Nashville's a fun place to be, and Canucks seem to have their fun there. 3 straight wins in the playoffs, and then their only stop this season, in the regular season at the very least, they are able to get the job done. 3-1 is the final score. And I mentioned it off the top. This is the 50-game mark for the Vancouver Canucks. There's no prizes handed out at the 50-game mark, but 3 straight wins. They have moved back above the playoff bar, so they leapfrog the idle Calgary Flames for this night at the very least. This is where it's starting to get a little interesting, though, Irf, is all those single points that the Canucks got with the 10 overtime or shootout losses. Canucks are 2 points back of the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah.
And remember, the Kings came to town and just clobbered the Canucks 2 weeks ago. LA has 2 wins in its last 9 games. That was one of them. But they're 2-6-1. They have 6 outright losses. So the one thing the Canucks have done really well this year is avoid these lengthy losing streaks where they get nothing. And now as the Los Angeles team goes 2-6-1, they're coming back to the pack here, and those single points all of a sudden look pretty important to the Canucks. Would they have loved some more bonus points from those overtime games? Of course they would. But they've served the Canucks well that even when they've lost, they've managed a bunch of losses, and it's allowed them with 3. It's funny how that works. 3 straight wins, and all of a sudden you're starting to look ahead here. You've got some traction. You're ahead of Calgary. Now the Flames do have a game in hand. And the Kings have a couple of games in hand. But the Kings are into Tampa. They finish up their road trip in Carolina. Some tough sledding here ahead for them in the short term at the very least. So, it's not all about the wild card. If people have just been locked onto that sort of playoff bar and what's going on, the other thing is Colorado made their big trade last week. They're at 60 points, so the Canucks are 4 back of Colorado but they've got 2 games in hand on the Avs, who are holding down the first wild card. So this is just it, that if you can string some wins together, you can make up ground on a bunch of teams, and the Canucks are showing that right now, this week at the very least, that they're sort of the poster boys for that. Put some good efforts in, get some goaltending, get some timely goals, and wouldn't you know it, you win 3 in a row, and now you're starting to make up ground on some of those teams around you in the playoff race.
Well, you go Dallas. You're playing well, so that'll be a good game. Then you got the Detroit Red Wings here on Sunday, and you pointed out to me that they play the late game on the Saturday in Calgary and then have to travel here and play a 5 p.m. start in Vancouver, so less than 24 hours after finishing their game. The Canucks will take on the Red Wings. You got the Colorado Avalanche after that, and then another winnable game in San Jose against the Sharks, and then home to the Leafs before the Four Nations break. So you take care of business. I mean, if you beat the Dallas Stars here, like, you could put yourself into a pretty good position here where you're feeling good about yourself. You got a couple games at home and a couple winnable games as well. So you win 3. It's funny. You win 1. People are like, okay, you win 2. Okay. Yeah. And 2 is good. You win 3 and you get to where you are in the standings and you look at it and you say, okay, this is really what it feels like to start winning again. Maybe we should do this more. Or at least try to.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of chatter, a lot of flowers for Tyler Myers.
Yeah, lots. And Demko. Like, those are the 2 in the chat.
We've
today.
talked about Demko.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I have a whole lot more to add other than it was important for him. I mean, he wants starts. He's got to get the confidence of the coaching staff, and we'll see what happens. I would assume they go back to Lankinen on Friday, but we talked about winning you're in, so maybe they've got a decision there. Basically every other night now up until that Four Nations break that you talked about. But Colin says keep Myers with Hughes and keep Hronek with his own pair. It's working. Rogue says Chaos Giraffe needed that 3-game suspension. He's been the GOAT ever since. We've got another one that says Myers has really stepped up since filling in for that first pair. And look, since Filip Hronek came back in Winnipeg, and that was a forgetful night, and then it was followed up by Los Angeles, and you're starting to think, like, this isn't the way this was. They've been waiting for Hronek. But I do think that we're now starting to see a little bit of depth. They've spread it out across the 3 pairs that they've got. Obviously, the third pair is still some interchangeable parts there, and we'll see how they settle on things. But Quinn Hughes has shown, like, it just doesn't matter who he's playing with.
He took Luke Schenn along for a ride and got him paid.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I can't get Tyler Myers paid because he's got his 3-year contract, but there's some life in Tyler Myers, who turns 35 next week. In a couple of days, in fact. Tyler Myers celebrating his 35th birthday. Tyler Myers is playing some of the best hockey of his Canucks career, and that's saying something because people wanted to run this guy out of town. Again, when you're playing alongside Quinn Hughes, you look pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But it's allowed Hronek then to man his own pair. Derek Forbort kind of quietly goes about his business, but I think really since he got back after his knee injury, for about the middle of December, like, penalty kill's been better. He's never going to be flashy. That's not who he's ever been in his career, but he's looking like an NHL veteran now. And alongside Hronek, I think there's something happening there. And then, it's dropped Carson Soucy down to a third pair where, look, it's been a struggle for Soucy for a lot of this season. But Carson Soucy in your third pair, like, I can live with that. And like DPD for the first couple of games, they've taken him out of the lineup. We'll see how long he sticks around, if they send him back down or if he gets another opportunity. But, Noah Juulsen stepped in, and, this was Juulsen's first game since that disaster in Winnipeg. And when I say disaster, not for Noah Juulsen, it was a disaster across the board for all of them. But this was the same 6 defensemen that they used that night against the Jets. This night went a whole lot better than that night in the Peg.
Do you have a problem with Quinn not being with Filip Hronek? Do you think it's a short-term thing that they're going to do here, or do you think if they keep winning, they'll keep it like this? Or is it dependent on matchup maybe?
I would stick with this.
Yeah.
Like, you can always juice a lineup or, a portion of the game if you're down and you need some offense. You can pair them and like, let the big dogs run. I think for the good of the hockey club, and again, I say this thinking through the first 50 games that they were going to make a trade and help this defense core. I don't know now, after reading the article, the Globe. Like, I don't know what Jim Rutherford is thinking in terms of, short-term help. Like, he was talking big picture and more about blowing things up. But I have to think that another defenseman is on the wish list still. Like, I don't think anything has changed there. I guess it's just a question of if this president of Hockey Ops doesn't believe in this team, do you want to be spending any assets at all to fix sort of or address short-term needs? I would say, if they've won 3 in a row, why would you touch anything?
They won 2 and they changed the goalie.
Well, that's true. And they changed the defense court tonight as well.
Exactly. So what do we know? We just sit here.
But I think until I see it sort of blow up in their face, I would stick with Hughes and Hronek. Look, Phil's he's been paid to $7.25. He should be able to run his own pair. And I think that's part of it, that they're spreading the wealth. It was too much of a drop-off from Hughes and Hronek to whatever else they put out there. And as much as those guys play, even if they play 30 minutes, there's still 30 minutes of hockey that you have to get by and get through without the others. So I think this has allowed them to address some of the areas of concern. And the same goes up front. Like, do I love the fact that Jake DeBrusk and Pius Suter, like, that just doesn't feel like a match at all.
Yeah.
But it's allowed them to stretch just sort of 3 lines where you might get some offense, and then you've got essentially a 4th line as well, and that's where Dakota Joshua was plugged in his return to the lineup here. So, look, they did enough good things to win. They've got the win streak to 3, but as we look at this lineup and we go top to bottom, Jake DeBrusk has to return. Like, he can't continue. Now, we say this, they had the numbers on the broadcast as well.
It was 14 goals in 16 games.
Yeah.
And then 1 in his last 14.
Right. I get the streaky part, but throw me a bone and score how about 3 in 14 if that's going to be your quiet stretch?
Yeah.
But it's just been way too quiet for Jake DeBrusk, and I think part of that is that Pius Suter hasn't been much of a playmaker this year. I know Suter's scored in the last couple of games, and again, you hope that that's part of a thaw, that maybe it gives him a little more confidence here. But I can't sit here and tell you that I think that, Pius Suter and Jake DeBrusk have been incredible. Now, DeBrusk still leads the hockey club with his 17 goals, so when he's been hot, he's been red hot. We know that, but this was not a banner night for that line in particular. When I look at the underlying numbers for Jake DeBrusk, the Predators outshot the Canucks 7-3. When he was out there on the ice, the shot attempts were 11-8, so individual Corsi of 42%. Just not looking dangerous. Like, that's the we always hear about goal scorers. If I'm getting chances, I don't think he can sit here and tell you that he's getting a ton of chances right now.
That's the thing. I was going to ask you that. Like, have we seen enough in the last 10 games, forget about 14, maybe 5, to even suggest that there's something coming here? I don't know. I don't think so. It just doesn't look like that. And maybe for someone as streaky as Jake DeBrusk, all it takes is an empty net goal. All it takes is something, for him for go right just once, and it's going to open the floodgates. But it's not there. Like, it's not getting into those scoring positions. And if I'm someone that hasn't scored in as long as he has, and he knows he can, leads the team in goals, like, I'd be firing the puck at every chance I get. But as you mentioned, Pius Suter not driving play, so he's in a tough spot because they took him off playing with Elias Pettersson, and now because of that, the one line's going, but then you almost alienate Jake DeBrusk to not being able to play with offensive guys.
Right, and so just look at the composition of their lines. Like, I don't love Danton Heinen back with JT Miller and Brock Besser.
Neither do I.
But if you flip DeBrusk and Heinen, then you're loading up the Miller line. But now you've got Danton Heinen with Pius Suter and Connor Garland.
Like, who do you play that line against? Yeah.
Yeah. So, these are the challenges. And it's wild to me that Jake DeBrusk is still the goal-scoring leader on the Vancouver Canucks with 17. And these are just the numbers. He's gone 11 now without a goal and has 1 in his last 15. It's up to 15 now. And somehow through all of that, talk about something that underscores how many guys have struggled here in the month of January. It's right there that Jake DeBrusk remains the Vancouver Canucks goal-scoring leader. He's got 17. Brock Besser's got 16, and Quinn Hughes is sitting on 14. Quinn has gone 2 games without scoring a goal. But he does have multi-point games in 3 straight. So got to 100 multi-point games the other night, and now at 101 because he had assists on the first 2 Canuck goals in this hockey game tonight.
We have Thatcher Demko post-game sound. I know Rick Tocchet's up there as well. We're going to work on that. But we have Thatcher Demko. So let's hear from the Canucks goaltender after their 3-1 win in Nashville.
Fight over the last couple.
Yeah, I mean, been fighting for that consistency, so getting 3 in a row is huge, and be a good test for us in the last leg here of the trip against Dallas. So
31 saves for yourself tonight. Take me through how you were feeling in this one.
yeah, I mean, I kind of needed that one. Felt good to be on the winning side here, and feel like myself a little bit again. So always feels good when you win, and a lot to build off.
You got one more to go here on this road trip in Dallas. How do you carry the momentum into it?
I think we've been doing some good things. So it's really just paying attention to detail, knowing our identity as a team, playing as 5, all 3 zones. So, just the cliche stuff.
Last one for you, Carlson grabbing his first NHL goal. What's it like just to see those moments?
Yeah, I mean, Carly works really hard. He's a guy that deserves it, so everyone's happy for him. And, you see guys get their first and how excited they are, and you kind of think back to when you were in that position and playing your first games and getting your first accolades. So, really special moment for him.
All right. I was shook earlier with the 3 stars. Now the Canucks have Carly and Garley on the same team? Like, how can that be? That's no. Like, if you're yelling for the puck, and did you say Carly or did you say no? You got to come up with something better than that.
I don't think anything's as bad as UC Saros first star. I'm sorry, Jeff.
That is an all-timer.
Also, that sound courtesy of the Vancouver Canucks, so thank you for that. We got Rick Tocchet.
Okay, but before we get to talking, I just want to say, just the tone. Like, remember the last time we heard from Thatcher Demko post-game?
Defeated.
Like, he was so down on himself. It was the Buffalo game, I think, the last time that he did a post-game interview and talked about the third period where he had to get one of those goals that got past him, and you could see that he was just seething. So, it just body language and tone, clearly feeling a whole lot better. Winning's fun. We keep saying that, and they're finding that out because it's been too long. I mean, you got to go back to early November, the California road trip. They swept all 3 of those games in Cali. That's the last time they've strung 3 in a row. So a chance to make it 4 on Friday in Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, this team has some momentum, as Demko said. Cliche things, but if that's what's going to win you hockey games and they need to do those little things and everything to go get those points, then go ahead and do it and say whatever you want. But as long as they're getting it done. So let's hear from Rick Tocchet now after the Canucks finish off the Nashville Predators.
Grinding away, I thought managed the puck for the most part. They made a push and we held ground. So yeah, got to keep moving along, keep grinding away.
Not only Carlson grabbing his first NHL goal, but also that line grabbing 2 goals on the night. What can you say about them as a whole?
Yeah, it was nice to see Hoggy. Great shot. Thought he had some jump tonight. Obviously Carly, that's where he's good around the net. So it's nice to see that line producing for us.
Was that exactly the kind of game you wanted to see from Thatcher Demko tonight too?
Yeah, I mean, he's a world-class goalie. I mean, he's I have a ton of confidence in the guy. So that's why we started him, and he was awesome tonight.
What about Myers' his play the last couple games since coming back?
Yeah, even before that, I think Mizey's been all year pretty one of our steady guys. You know what you're going to get from Mizey every night. True pro. Like I said to you guys, always never takes a practice off. Very coachable. He's a great guy. Love Mizey.
13 shots in the first. You talked about attacking this morning in your presser. Is that the kind of style you're talking about?
Yeah, better Murph. I think trying to attack, but I think now we got to do it for 3 periods. Not to be picky, but we don't want to back off. You still want to attack that interior. You still want to make a play inside. But one inch at a time.
Key face-off win for JT
Yeah,
there at the end.
big. That was a huge one for us. That's why I put him out there, and obviously I thought, and Pew Suter, I thought he had a really good game, an intelligent game. Like, he was one of our guys that used him in all situations. He makes the right play at the right time.
Well, what's going on, all the noise you guys now, 3 straight wins, back into a playoff spot. Is this the kind of stuff you guys can rally around?
Yeah, I mean, each individual has to just bring their game, and then collectively as a group, rely on each other. There's a lot of noise, like you said, and sometimes packs of people, positive people, can overcome a lot of outside stuff.
Sounded like he was doing some sort of tongue twister there. Packs of
Positive people.
Yeah. He mentioned JT Miller out for the faceoff on the empty netter. They have added assists now. Derek Forbert and JT Miller getting the assists on the P.S. Suter power play empty netter. So, yes, they have tacked on a couple of helpers there on the 3-1 goal. And that's the way it ends, 3-1 for the Canucks. 3 straight victories, 23 wins on the year. And Coach not getting ahead of himself, realizes that first period was pretty good, and then after that, a little bit too much sitting back. But he wasn't going to carve his hockey club. This team needs wins. They got one, so on to Dallas, and we'll see what they can do there. We think the Canucks.
Yeah.
That's where the audio came from. All right, so the Canucks are off on Thursday, and they'll make their way to Dallas, take on the Stars. We'll talk more about Dallas in a sec here. But what have you got your eye on? It's time for our Line of the Night, brought to you by Bet365.
Yes, portion of the show, Jeff, brought to you by Bet365. Proud partner of Sekeres & Price. Canucks conversation, you and I here at Rinkwide Vancouver. Open account with Bet365 today, but on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I stunk last night. Sorry about that, chat. Wasn't very good. You go 1 for 4 or 1 for 3. It was not very good. But in this one, I have another 3-game parlay. I like the Kings in Tampa. They got their lunch fed to them by the defending Stanley Cup champions, so I like the Kings in Tampa. The Ottawa Senators on the money line at home to the Washington Capitals. Caps ending a really long road trip, so they might be 1 foot out the door waiting to get home. And then the Vegas Golden Knights. I love them at home. Going to take them more nights than not. The Columbus Blue Jackets aren't a very good road team, but they are a very good home team. So put those 3 together and you get some pretty good odds there.
All right, we'll see about that. Vegas going to be motivated after losing in overtime to the Canucks' next opponent, the Dallas Stars. I watched some of that. A little controversy there with Mark Stone taking out Miro Heiskanen. This was a good night for the Vancouver Canucks. They took care of business themselves. We talked about the Kings losing. The late game saw Sidney Crosby make his first ever visit to Salt Lake City, and he scores the winner in overtime. So the Utah Hockey Club, soon to be the Mammoth or the something else, the Wasatch, the mountain range.
Stick with Hockey Club.
HC,
yeah.
Absolutely. They don't win much at home. That's been sort of their downfall, and it's unfortunate because they get the support first year, but they haven't sent the fans home happy. But for people in Salt Lake to see Sidney Crosby and see him score the overtime winner, something that they will remember there. But the Hockey Club picks up a single point, so the Canucks able to distance themselves from one of the teams behind them and below the playoff bar. All right, I mentioned earlier about Greta. A chance for you, if you haven't been to Greta, put this one on the calendar. Come watch the Nations with your Vancouver crew. And this is all presented by Fountain Tire, Canada versus USA on February 15th. Greta Bar, 50 West Cordova. Sekeres & Price are going to be your hosts, so you don't want to miss out on that. It's presented by Rinkwide and Canucks Army as well. Got raffles, exclusive prizes to be won, your chance to party it up and cheer for a once-in-a-lifetime Team Canada, all in support of Social Run Club YVR. Tickets are $10, or you snag a VIP package. That includes $40. For $40, it includes a burger, beverage, and an arcade game card. You can grab seating for up to 6 people with those VIP packages. Doors at 4, the puck drop at 5. It is a 19-plus event. Grab your tickets now, nationgear.ca. Again, nationgear.ca is where you get your tickets. Come on down and join our crew for Four Nations Hockey Canada against Team USA. All right, so end of the line for the Vancouver Canucks with some momentum as they head to Dallas. Stars are the only team that they haven't seen in the NHL, so you can cross that one off on Friday. They will have faced all 31 other teams around the NHL. Stars were winners in overtime. Wyatt Johnston had the natural hat trick in Vegas, so big night for him. Stars very likely to be without Heiskanen. I haven't seen an update today. They were overnighting in Vegas and heading home. So we'll see if there's an update tomorrow or Friday, but that's a big blow. You hope that he's okay.
Yeah.
He's such a good player and such a big part.
Weird, accidental. Like,
kind of reminded me of what happened to Dakota Joshua, where Roman Josi, took him out. And we'll hope for Heiskanen, but he may not be there for the Canucks game on Friday. Matt Duchene having a terrific season down in Big D. Leads the Stars 18 goals and 48 points. Leads them in points with 48. Rope Hins leads with 20 goals. Jason Robertson, slow start, but he's starting to heat up, and look out when he does, because he can score with the best in the National Hockey League. This is a good team. They're
Very good team.
18-7-1 on home ice. They're the third best defensive team in the league. Jake Ottinger, I don't know if he's playing. Maybe they throw Casey DeSmith at his former team on Friday. We'll see. But Ottinger's second in the league behind Connor Hellebuck with 25 wins. And, oh, yeah, the Stars are 12-4 in their last 16 hockey games, and they have to be that way to keep pace with Winnipeg and the way that the Jets are going at the top of the Central Division.
It's the team that no one's really talking about
You're
that's
right.
going to do something really big at the trade deadline or in and around is the Dallas Stars. I really do believe that they have assets. They have a lot of cap space,
yeah.
and they have an owner and a GM who are not afraid this year and look at that team and say, the way that we're playing, we owe it to these guys to try and add and do something big, kind of like what the Canucks did with an Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov last year. So the Dallas Stars are always kind of in the mix, and we always do talk about them, but this is the year I think that they're going to do something big.
No, I tend to agree. I mean, they went in on Chris Tanev last year, and so Jim Nill's the two-time defending general manager of the year for a reason. This guy has put together a heck of a hockey club. No real weaknesses there, but if Heiskanen's out for any length of time, you just don't fill that. I mean, I don't know that he means quite as much to the Stars as Quinn Hughes does. He's not at that level, but he's not far off either.
He's in that next tier.
Right.
After Makar and Hughes,
plays
it's
a ton
Heiskanen.
in all situations. One of the great skaters in the National Hockey League, and I'm sure Finland's watching pretty closely too, with Four Nations just around the corner. We've said it a few times here on this program, Irv. Canucks have won 3 in a row. Still having my troubles wrapping my head around that, but no, we watched it with our own eyes. So they beat the Nashville Predators by a score of 3-1, and so at the 50-game mark, they are 23, 17, and 10, sitting on 56 points, looking to add to that in Dallas on Friday night. Now, I'll be here on Friday. You will not. You're stepping away here.
Yeah.
Going on assignment for a couple of weeks.
I'm going on assignment. Yeah, I'm doing some hosting for the Invictus games that are here, and I'm excited. Good opportunity. It'll be different. I'm really excited for the event. So I will be back, I think, the end of February, the last week of February.
All right. Well, we'll do our best to push forward without you.
Yep.
Have some special guest hosts sitting in that chair. But we look forward to, obviously, the league shutting down for a couple of weeks. So,
everyone gets a break.
Everybody's getting a little break there. And then we'll catch up with you after the Four Nations. I hope Invictus goes well for you.
Yeah, I think so too. I
Great
think
for
it
the
will.
city,
Thanks.
and obviously looking forward to seeing how the city responds to a big event like that one. Hard to believe. I was thinking about that. Like, we're weeks away from 15 years from hosting the Olympics.
I know.
15 has marched along pretty quickly. So, all right. Well, good luck with that gig.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll be. Is that that's online, or is it on?
No, that's
Over the air
on the
too?
broadcast. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll be doing some stuff. I think
Okay.
highlight packs on TSN and all sorts of weird
Some
stuff.
play-by-play, I hear.
Yeah, some play-by-play of some events that I've been studying for, so it should be fun.
Irf's got the binder. He's been doing.
I've
his
got
homework
the
here. I've
binder.
seen
Yeah,
it.
I know a
I'm-
lot about biathlon. I'll tell you
There
that.
you go. Well, I will. I have no doubt that you're gonna kill it there, and we look forward to getting you back for the stretch run for the Vancouver Canucks, and we'll see. And that run up to the trade deadline will be interesting, and then beyond. All right, 3-1, the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, they're on a win streak, and we'll see if they can push it to 4 on Friday in Dallas. I'm going to be all by my lonesome on Friday. Yes. All right. Thanks to Atsu and Nick working hard behind the scenes here for the final time, for a little while at least. We thank Irf for his contributions. And yes, the Vancouver Canucks, 3-1 winners in Music City, USA. They're going to two-step their way to Dallas and see what they can do against the Stars on Friday. That's when we'll have our next episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.